All right, hello. So this is the second video of your video notes. This one is bringing us back to solutions to a system of linear equations. But this time we're going to talk about it in context, okay? So when we hear this term, it really means for us to now not only just solve for x or solve for y, but actually understand the meaning behind the x and y values. Okay, so in other words, this is more focused on word problems. Okay, and so our variables are going to be more than just values. We're actually going to have to understand, like, what does x represent in an equation and what does y represent in an equation. Okay, so make sure you title your notes solutions to systems of linear equations in context. Okay, so here's some vocabulary that will be used in this video. You can use that in your summary. And then here I can, this is our objective in the video. I can solve for a solution to a systems of linear equation in a contextual word problem. Okay, word. The next problem is a little bit different, okay? So it has a little bit more context, and it says a friend bought 2 boxes of pencils and 8 notebooks for school, and it cost him $11. He went back to the store the same day to buy school supplies for his younger brother. He spent $11.25 on boxes of pencils and 5 notebooks. How much would 7 notebooks cost? Okay, so this is a lot of information. So the first thing that we're going to do is, like we've done in the first problem, is we're going to identify the variables. Okay, and we want to define them. Okay, so in this case, we're going to let x, let x, that's going to represent boxes. So, or the cost of a box of pencils. So the cost of a box of pencils. Okay, and let y represent the cost of a notebook. Okay, now we actually want to write the equation to represent the word problem. Okay, so we want to write equations to represent the word problem. Okay, so this is where we're going to have to use our context clues and figure out what this all means. So right here we have a friend bought 2 boxes of pencils and 8 notebooks for school, and it cost him $11. So right here, 2 boxes of pencils and 8 notebooks for school, and it cost him $11. Okay, so for this particular problem, we know that x represents the box of pencils. Okay, and y is the cost of a notebook or notebooks. Okay, so what we can do is we can go ahead and write this as 2x, because there's 2 boxes of pencils, so it's 2x. X represents the pencils. And so that and means plus, okay, definitely plus right here. And so we can add 8 notebooks, and notebooks is represented by y. So 2x plus 8y, and it cost him a total of $11 equals 11. Okay, and then do green. And then here it says he went back to the store the same day to buy school supplies for his younger brother. He spent $11.25 on boxes of pencils and 5 notebooks. How much would 7 notebooks cost? Okay, so then here, how we write this one is represented by he spent, oh, there is a typo. Okay, right here in this problem, it should say 3 boxes. Oh, there was a typo. It's okay. All right, so he spent $11.25 on 3 boxes of pencils and 5 notebooks. So again, we can go ahead and write this equation with x representing the cost of a box of pencils. So this will be 3x, and then 5 notebooks. So plus 5y, because y represents notebooks, equals 11.25. Okay, so that's how we can go ahead and start this problem. And this is our system. Okay, so step 3 in this case is to solve for our system. Solve for the system. Okay, and so because of that, I'm gonna have to, again, none of my variables are isolated, so I have to isolate one of my variables. So I'm gonna take the first equation. So I have 2x plus 8y equals 11. Okay, and I'm gonna isolate it by getting x by itself, or getting y by itself. So I'm gonna subtract 2x, Okay, and so it doesn't really matter if you start with if you want to isolate x or isolate y. All that matters is that you make sure you substitute it back into the other equation correctly. So here we'll get 8y equals negative 2x plus 11. And then we're going to divide by 8, divide by 8, and we'll get y equals negative 2 over 8x plus 11 over 8. And 2 over 8 will simplify to negative 1/4 x plus 11, 8. Whew, okay, so that's a lot. But all this means is that we just isolated y. And this is the expression that we're going to substitute back into the second equation, which is the green one. Okay, so here I'm going to go ahead and write the second equation. So I have 3x plus 5y equals 11.25. And this y is what I'm going to substitute right in here. Okay, so we can see this. So I have 3x plus 5 times, okay, equals 11.25. I'm going to substitute this right here, negative 1/4 x plus 11/8. Okay, now we can actually solve for x. This will take some time because it has a little bit of fractions, but use your calculator. Just know that this leaves room for error, and double check with a calculator when you're doing this. Okay, so then we'll have 3x. And this 5, I'm going to distribute this, and then 5 times negative 1/4 is a negative 5 over 4x, plus 5 times 11/8 is 55/8 equals 11.25. Okay, and then from there, I can combine like terms right here. And so that will become, once you punch that into the calculator, you'll get 7/4 x. And then we'll have plus 55/8 equals 11.25. We're almost there. We need to isolate x, so we'll subtract 55/8 on both sides. And so we're left with 7 over 4x equals 11.25 minus 55 over 8. And once you type this into the calculator, you will get 4.375, and we'll get 7 over 4x. And so what we're going to do is, this is like multiplying, so we're going to divide by 7/4, divide by 7/4, and x will equal, once you type this in the calculator, 4.375 over 7 divided by 7/4 is 2.5. Whew, that's a lot. It's a lot. I understand. So if you got a little confused or lost, make sure you know that this has room for lots of errors. Okay, but we're still going to follow the same process, and we're going to substitute x back into one of our into one of our equations. So we can go ahead and choose. I can choose the orange equation. So I'm going to substitute. So we have 2x plus 8y equals 11. and x is, I'm going to write this up here, x equals 2.5. Okay, so then I can go ahead and substitute. So I'll have 2 times, in this case it's 2.5, so 2.5 plus 8y equals 11. This is great because I have only one variable. This will become 5 plus 8y equals 11. And then I need to isolate my variable to find y. So subtract 5, I'll get 8y equals 6. And then we'll isolate one more time, divide by 8, y equals 6/8, which then both can be divided by 2. So we'll get 3/4. So y equals 3/4, or in this case, 0.75. Okay, so now that we've identified our solution, we can go back to the problem. Okay, so right here, we did all this work. I know it's a lot, but for step 4, okay, in this case, we want to identify our solution. Identify solution. And our solution is 2.5 and 0.5. Okay, but the challenge about this one is it didn't ask to find the solution. It asked right here, which is very, very important. This is our find. It says, how much would 7 notebooks cost? Okay, so we need to figure out 7 notebooks and the value of that. So what this represents here, though, remember, this represents our x and our y. So remember, this is the cost of pencils, and this represents the cost of notebooks. Okay, so even though we got a solution at the very end, it does not mean that that is our answer. Here, our answer said, how much would 7 notebooks cost? Well, if we know it costs $0.75 for notebooks, then what we have to do, which is the final step here, is we need to multiply that. So if we know it costs 75 cents per notebook, then all we need to do is multiply this times 7 to figure out the price for 7 notebooks, which will end up being $5, or not $5, $7.25. So this will equal 7.25. So we can say right, so what we need to do here is identify how much it would cost for 7 notebooks. So if we know that it costs 75 cents per notebook, we can multiply this times 7, and we'll get the cost for 7 notebooks, which ends up being $5.25. So our final answer is going to be 7 notebooks will cost $5.25. And that's our answer. All right, so go ahead and write your summary, and make sure that you highlight any questions that you still have, or any clear concepts that you for sure understand. All right, bye-bye.